Hi, this is Bob from Hobby Concepts, and today I'm back with part 4 of my Tamiya 770S tank transporter build. Obviously, this is not the tank transporter truck, this is the trailer. Diecast Masters Lowboy trailer. I'll put links in the description of where you can get it. We're going to take it apart, which is kind of cool. You can look at the inside of this trailer. We're going to install custom lights, we're going to paint it. Turned out just beautiful. We're going to install the Bayer Bluetooth light unit. You can see right now some of the lights are working. It turned out really well. I'm just really liking this project. So it's kind of a fun deal. I think you'll like it. Let's get started. So when we last left this party, I just finished up this 770S extended frame truck with locking diffs and all kinds of goodies. Now it's time to do the trailer. So we're going to set the truck aside, and this video is going to be on the trailer. And we're going to start with one of these Diecast Master Lowboy trailers. I really like these trailers. These things are great. They're inexpensive, 250 bucks. Well, inexpensive as trailers for these things go. And they look really great, and they hook up nice to the Tamiya trucks. So we're going to modify this trailer so it can carry the heavy weight of the Henlong tank, and so we're going to beef it up. We're going to paint it to match the truck. We're going to put lights on it. I'll be taking it all apart so we can see inside, which we haven't done yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing unpackaged, and then we'll start taking a look at how to do this. Well, you can see I slid the trailer out of the box, and I just wanted to see how the tank fit and if the trailer would handle the weight. I weighed the tank, and it weighs about 12 pounds with no batteries in it, and I don't have any details on it yet. The tank's going to be a whole separate video. Obviously a bunch of painting to do. But the fit is great. The trailer handles it easily. This trailer, I've determined, can carry about 17 pounds just fine. So I really don't need to do a lot of beefing up. We'll take a look at that. But yeah, it looks good on there. I've got the sideboards on. It fits fine. I think it looks great. It's going to sure make a nice combo with the truck. I can see right now that I'm going to have to repaint the brown, probably the brown and the black on the tank, just to be a perfect match to the truck. And then we'll get going on the trailer. Now the trailer itself, let's take it aside here, comes out of the box. It's quite shiny. And it looks really good behind a shiny custom truck. You know, if you're going to do a simpler conversion, you could just take this and spray it with clear flat, and it would look fantastic. But I've got more work to do. I'm going to, darken up these boards, camo the trailer. I've got to remove the wheels and get those painted. I'll paint the whole trailer, bottom and everything. The trailer is screwed together, so we're going to need to take it apart to add lights. We want to add brake lights, tail lights, and side marker lights, and then match the flashing lights on the truck. And to do that, we're going to use the Bayer Bluetooth wireless trailer unit, so we can have wireless lights. So I'm going to do a little bit of preliminary work on this just to kind of see how it comes apart, and then I'm going to get the tank and the truck put away, clean off my bench. We'll come back and see what we have here. Well, okay, I had to. Sometimes I'm just a big kid, but this thing is amazing. The whole thing is 64 inches long. It is going to be an impressive piece. I'm excited to do this. So as I start looking into this trailer, kind of a deep dive, the first thing I did was pop off the rear wheels. They're just held on by a single screw in the center and a little hex adapter that just slides over the axle. So very easy to screw pulls off, they pull off, super easy. The front and the back rims are held together with 2 screws on the back side, so I pulled those out, took this apart, and popped the tire off. So the first thing I'm going to do is dump these in some super clean, the outer rims, so that I can get the chrome off, and then I'll paint those with NATO green. This trailer has some suspension back here. It's nothing exciting, but it does work, and so that's pretty cool. And then it comes with some built-in lights. There's LEDs in here. You can see, well, maybe you can see, there's some wiring here that runs back to the lights, but I'm not absolutely positive what those do. The nice thing about this trailer is it's held together with screws, so I can take everything apart. So I'll pull this apart, and I'm going to pull this bottom deck off. It's fascinating. There's some little spring-loaded bumps here. I don't know what those are all about, but anyway, I'm going to pull this deck off and take a look at it. And then the neck also has some wiring in it, which I'm not going to use, so I'm just going to clip it off. But there's two bits of wiring. One of them is a black wire, and what that does is there's a motor in here that runs the deck up and down. And then the other one is obviously for the lights, and they're just designed to plug into a die-cast master's truck, so not really compatible with the Tamiya stuff or the USM Buyer Bluetooth module I'm going to use for the trailer. But I kind of wanted to look at it, so I popped this off and looked at the wiring underneath, and I played with the motor, and actually it would be pretty easy to motorize this for use with a regular truck. And I think I'll probably do a video on that later separately. But for now, these are not stickers. They're tampo printed onto the trailer. So I'm just going to paint over them. I'm going to cut a mask of masking tape and cover up these warning stickers, because I like the looks of those. So on the neck, I'm going to clip the wiring off. I'm going to put the screws back in that I took apart, and then I'm going to mask those off, and then I'm going to paint this with my NATO green. I'm going to strip these and paint them, and this is the unit that holds the trailer neck on. It's spring loaded, and so I'll put that back together before I paint it. So yeah, pretty straightforward. And then once I get those things done, I'll come back and we'll take all the screws out of this and see what it looks like inside. The one thing I was looking at is the side edges for the deck are two pieces. There's one piece here and one piece here, and if you put a lot of weight on it, the flex point is right here between the two pieces. And so I'll probably add a strip of aluminum to the bottom on each side, screw it through here. I'm going to see what's underneath it, and what that'll do is give me it won't flex anymore, because if it's held on both points here and it's pretty thick, it would try to stretch the aluminum, which won't stretch, and it'll make the deck a lot stiffer. Right now I've tried it with up to 17 pounds on it, and it works pretty good. The tank weighs 12 pounds, probably with the battery maybe 13, so it's strong enough, but I'm going to reinforce it anyway, just for the heck of it. So there we go. I got a few things to take apart, these, and then I'll come back and we'll pull this deck off. I pulled the screws out, took these platforms out, and there's a metal beam in here that crosses across where the two pieces join together, and that provides the support to keep it from flexing. So that's pretty nice. Actually, it looks pretty good. You can see the light wiring here that's running towards the back bumper through these channels, so I've got some places to run lights, but there's also a lot of room underneath these, because I intend to put some side marker lights and flashers and some things like that in here. So that's great. It's pretty easy to come apart. These little bumps that I wondered what they were, they're little latches that help latch in the side frame, and they're nothing spectacular, so they just lift out. So I'll put those in my muffin tin with all the other screws, and yeah, that's going to be a pretty easy conversion, I think. The biggest problem I'm going to have with this is figuring out where to put a battery and where to mount the Bayer light unit. But anyway, we'll continue this. I'm going to study and see where I might want to put some lights and go from there. A little bit more of the trailer taken apart. The wiring in the front terminates in these spring-loaded pins. That way, there's push plates here that connect the wiring up to here. Now, I don't need to do that for the way I'm doing this rig, so I'm going to clip them off, use the wiring. In the back, it's really actually quite nice printed circuit board with surface mount LEDs. We've got white ones here, and we've got, I'm assuming these will be red tail lights and turn signals. I haven't accessed them yet, but I'm gonna clip the wiring and test those and see what they look like. Also nice, built-in surface mount resistors on the board, so that's all taken care of. I really like that. As I suspected, this little circuit board for the lights works good. So I'm going to have turn signals here, and brake lights, and backup lights. So I will just mark down these colors and use them when I do my wiring. That takes care of my tail lights. So now I've just got to drill and install my side marker lights and flashers. And I'm going to put, I'm going to drill through here and add an amber bulb here and here. I'll do an amber bulb on the front on each side. Those will be flashers that flash with my sequence on the truck. And then I'll add several amber bulbs down each side for side marker lights. I mounted the board back in. I'm going to reinstall this this plate right here that holds the board in. The mud flaps had a printed Die-Cast Masters logo on them, so what I've done here is I just took them off. I'm going to just turn them around so that the solid black, and there's a pin that lines it up, and I'm going to glue it. But that way I'll have a solid black mud flap on the back. So I'll get those glued on, bolt this back in, drill the holes for 3mm LEDs here, 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 and here, and I'm going to drill some holes in here to run the wires up into there. Oh, well, somebody just came back from the groomer. Look at this. Winston, wow. Aren't you looking good, huh? Mug for the camera, buddy. Okay, back to the trailer. Come on. The more I play with this trailer, the more I like it. I was trying to figure out how to mask these off, and I realized it was a separate piece held in with screws on the backside. So I was able to pull those off, so that means I'll be able to paint them separately. I wanted to get a little darker brown on it, and then I'll use some brown panel line marker to highlight the wood grain shape. And I've got my holes drilled for LEDs here. So really, right now, I guess I can paint the green. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing primed up and painted. Once I get the green paint on, then I can put in the LEDs. I'll paint the neck. I'll paint the suspension block, and yeah, throw some paint on it and then see how it looks. This is my my Bluetooth trailer light module, and so I was kind of looking over the trailer to see where to mount it. I've decided I'm going to cut out these two cross braces right here and put a floor in here and drop it in here. I'm going to cut this cross brace out. There's a bottom on this, and I'll use this for the battery compartment. I'll use a 2-cell LiPo battery in there. This can sit here, the wiring will sit in here, and then I'll make a plastic cover that covers this whole area in one piece. So that should give me a good, easy to mount location to put this, and it'll be hidden away nicely. So I'm going to get my razor saw, which is this little devil right here, and I'm going to just take my saw and saw these two braces out and saw this brace out. So that'll take me a few minutes, and we'll take a look at it when it's cut apart. That actually worked out quite well. I got rid of the braces. I got rid of the braces here, and the battery will sit on this hard compartment, and then I'll make a floor out of plastic. There's plenty of height, so I can make a cover for this. The wiring will sit in here, and then I'll drill holes through here so I can run wiring up. There's tons of room under here for wiring, so I can put all the wiring up in here, and then I'll get an on-off switch someplace. I don't know exactly where yet, but I'll figure that out. And yeah, I think that'll work pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to clean this up, and then I'm going to make a floor here out of some sheet plastic and glue it in place before I paint this, and that way I'll have a base for this to sit on, and I'll drill those holes pretty soon before I paint it. I've got the covers that go here in the paint booth right now, and once I get that done, then I can paint this whole piece and then start thinking about putting lights in it. Well, you can see my floor for the USM that's going to sit in here. My battery will sit here, wiring can tuck in here, and I made this little cover out of a piece of sheet styrene and a bunch of these. Let's see, these are 2.5 by 2.5 millimeter plastic strips from Evergreen, and I just kind of cut them out, and then I glued them in with the same spacing as these. So this hatch will sit here to cover the battery and the USM. Probably I'll use a magnet or something to hold it down, but yeah, that'll cover up the wiring nicely. Won't affect anything that is sitting on top of here, and it actually looks pretty cool. So I've got to paint this. I've got to paint this. I need to mask off my tail lights before I do that, and then I'm going to add a 3mm bulb somewhere back here on each side for my turn signal, because these will be my combined brake lights, my backup lights, combined brake lights, and I do need a turn signal somehow. So I will drill another 3mm hole or 1/8" hole before I paint it, and then I will, you can see I've started putting a little primer on it. I'll get it all primered up and painted in the green paint. I painted the wheels. I tried to strip the chrome with my normal method, soaking them in super clean, and it did not touch the chrome on these things. It is hard as rock. The inner wheel is actually metal. I thought maybe that was the problem with this, but it is plastic, but boy, it's got the hardest chrome I've ever seen. So I just primered and painted it like normal, and then I'll put the tires back on and get them ready to put back on. The tires are very stiff, which is good. They'll carry a lot of weight, but they're really hard to get on and off of these rims. So we'll get that together and get back painting on the trailer. I just wanted to quickly show the green paint on here. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to camouflage it now, and this is my little removable cover for the mechanism area. So now I'm going to take this, camouflage it, and then I'll paint the deck boards. Now these side decks, this brown is too light, so I'm going to repaint the brown with a little darker color. Then I'll mask it off, and then I'll spray the bottom of it NATO green, so that'll take care of the sideboards. And I'll paint these boards the same color. They're just too light right now, and I think that'll look pretty good. So Go do a little camo painting and see how that comes out. I airbrushed these inserts with some, I used Tamiya buff and flat earth mixed together to get kind of a light brown color. And now what I'm going to do is take some Tamiya panel line marker. I've got some brown here, and I'm just going to go over this, and I don't know how good you can see this, but you can just see how it highlights the wood grain. Really does a nice job of bringing out that wood look. And so I am going to take and put panel line marker on all these, and then I'll let that dry, and then I will, because what it does is it fills in the cracks and just really makes this look good. Pretty easy to use too. Sometimes I wipe it off, but on this I'm just going to leave it and let it dry, and then put on the clear flat. But what a difference between the two there. Really really looks nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these with the panel line marker and spray clear flat on them, and then I'll be back. Well, there you can see I got my my camouflage done. Sorry, the trailer's so big I can't get it on my camera all at once, and then my hatch comes off with my electronics. So my sideboards are drying right now, and I'm going to clear flat on my wood board, so I'll get those in a minute. So now I'm going to go ahead and start installing LEDs, and I have already drilled holes. You can see here, 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 all over the place for LEDs. I had a couple here. My tail lights, of course, are installed. Right now, the masking is still over the lights. I'll pull that off. So I'll start to install LEDs in this and start doing the wiring. Now it's time to start adding LEDs, and as I mentioned, I've got holes drilled, so these will just stick into the hole all the way down the side. I've got a couple in the back. I drilled some holes in the frame here to run the wires through, so I can run them up this channel. The way I put in these LEDs, and these are the LEDs with the built-in resistors, and I just use a little bit of medium CA and just slide them in the hole. So I'm going to be doing a bunch of that. And an 1/8 inch hole fits perfect. So what I'm going to do, and there's a million ways to do it. You could probably wire them up first. I like to stick them in and then do the wiring, because then I get the wiring exactly where I want it. Some people wire them up and then stick them in. I just try not to pull hard on the wires when I'm doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and glue in, I think there's like, I don't know, there's like 20. So glue in these LEDs, and that's not counting the LEDs that are in the rear bumper. So I'm going to glue those all in. We'll come back and do some wiring. Just a little quick update on the wiring here. So the Bayer systems are positive ground, so what I've done is taken all the positives and put them together in a red wire, and this red wire on this side is also going to be the positive wire, so I will connect all the other positives to it, and I'll run them up this channel. So now I've got several wires coming up the channel. I've got a positive, which is the red one, then I've got a yellow, which is going to be my flashers, the green is my turn signal, and the white and blue are the backup light and the tail light. So now I can just kind of tuck these up in here and run them forward. I will do the same thing. I will tie in all the positives here to the red, so I'll be cutting it and kind of tying it all together as I go forward, and then I'll do the same thing on this side, and all the negatives will be tied together in a different color, which will be my side marker lights. So everything should slide up these channels, and there's a cover that snaps over this, so all the wires will tuck in here nicely and hide away. I might use a little hot glue just to kind of keep them in place until the cover's on, which is this. So yeah, pretty straightforward wiring setup on this. Just a bunch of soldering. There's my wiring all put in. You can see I used some hot glue to just kind of hold it in the channel. There's a slot right here, so I could run the wiring out into this big area where I'm going to do all the side wiring. And then earlier I had drilled a hole through here into my bay where I'm going to put my equipment. So all the wiring will run down this side, and then it'll go through these holes into the bay, and the cover will just snap over the top. So yeah, pretty clean installation. It's now just wiring up these side lights and then the two flashers in the front, and then running all the wire into there, and then I'll hook them into my buyer unit. The other thing, I've got my suspension here, of course, and that just is going to mount like this, and there's some springs that mount in there, and then of course that really covers up the wiring. So yeah, looks pretty good. The paint though, the paint on these gave it just a little bit more, thickened up that a little bit, and the paint inside here, so now it just rubs just a tiny bit. So I'm going to clean out that paint with a, I don't know, probably a little brush, and scrape it off of here just to get my action so this flips around easier. And there's springs that drop over these posts, and I was careful to get the wiring around them so the springs don't sit on the wiring. So I have one side done. You can see I pulled the wires in here. Everything's all hooked together and stuck down. And then the wires go through this hole and come out into my wiring bay. I mounted one of the strips of wood grain. It turned out really good. That's a great way to make it look a lot better. Matter of fact, if you have one of these trailers and you're not going to camo it, you can make it look fantastic just by using panel line marker on these and spraying clear flat on the rest of the trailer. So anyway, now I can put the cover on this side, and just like that, I'll get that screwed down, and then I'll solder up this side. And it did test all those lights while I was installing them, and they all work fine. So I'll go ahead and install this, wire this and install it, and put my my rear suspension back on. With the wiring all buttoned up underneath, looks pretty good. Can't really see anything. Now I just have to hook up this Buyer LMBT Bluetooth wiring unit, and I've got a separate video on these. Basically it just Bluetooths to the truck, and there's really no programming required here. Every single function on the truck is just duplicated here. Now I've got a list that I made of the functions. For example, the flashers are number 3, function 3, which is on the third wire in on this cable here. So I have to take my 2 yellow flasher wires and hook them up to there. My left and right turns are down here in what? Left turn is 12 and right turn is 13. So I actually need a second cable to hook those up. And my combined brake lights and reverse lights and everything, the side marker lights are also in this cable. So really I only need one cable on this output, and then I need a bunch of these. And I'll just clip these, solder the wires together. This will sit down in here. I found a really slick little 1000 milliamp 2-cell battery that sits in here nicely. There's enough room for all my wiring mess to tuck in here, and then my little hatch will cover it all and hide it away. so the hatch will just lift up to pull the battery out to charge it. Pretty slick. All I have to do is put a battery connector here in the 2 battery ports, which are going to plug into this. So I'm going to go ahead and start soldering up these wires and getting this all ready to operate. You can see here that I've got my wiring all hooked up. Basically just spliced all those in. Got a little battery plugged in. My red light's on and my green light's flashing, which means it's talking to my truck. So my radio will now operate everything on the trailer the same way it operates the truck. So the side marker lights, I turn them on here. My truck is off on the bench. You probably can't see it, but super simple. My emergency, or my flashers, are a 3-second hold here. And now you can see my flashers here, which flash with the same flash and a space. My tail lights, of course, are automatic. I have my hazard lights on, that's why the turn signals are working. Let's see, the hazard lights, I can turn those off by doing that, and the hazard lights will go off. My right turn and my left turn will work. My brake lights go off when I move the vehicle, and you can see these are the backup lights. Come on when I go backwards. I can't move it too much or my truck will move. And yeah, so all my lights are working perfectly. It's in sync with the truck. I love these units. You don't really have to do anything except wire it up, and then it just automatically talks to the truck. No other programming required. So now I'm going to go ahead and get this all mounted and cleaned up and finish painting the sideboards, and that's going to kind of wipe out all the work on this trailer. It will be done. I know this video is mostly about the trailer, but I just want to do a couple little truck updates. One is that I painted up a driver figure, so we'll get him up here and mounted. And then I mentioned in an earlier video one of the headlights didn't work, so I'm sure it's just a bad connection on this LED, so I'm just going to replace that. I'll get the truck put back together, and then I'll finish up the trailer. Well, here is the finished trailer. I had to move the camera back quite a ways to get it in the picture, but you can see how nicely it turned out. Boy, a little bit of paint in this trailer looks just fantastic. I decided I didn't need to reinforce it. I've put the tank on it several times and it's plenty strong. So it's just basically the way it came out of the box with a paint job and lights. So the lights, I've got, for example, my flashers, which are the double flash, and then there's a light under here. You can see it. I've got my my side marker lights, which turn on this entire row underneath here, and everything matches the truck. I've got my hazard lights, which are flashing back here, which I can turn off, and you can see my brake lights, which when I move my truck forward, the brake lights will go off. When I move it backwards, I've got my reverse lights, and then of course my turn signals. And these are all Bluetooth to the truck, so the truck's up here on the bench where I don't know that you can see it in the video, but it looks really nice together. You can see probably some of the flashing lights on the truck and how they flash with the trailer. So I'm super pleased with that. That's the Die-Cast Masters trailer with a paint job and some lights. My wiring and battery are all right here under a little hatch. Pretty easy to get to. I am going to just add a piece of Velcro to that. And so there you go. Now I'm going to add some still pictures of this after the little end trailer of my video where the Winston Productions is. I will add some clips of this trailer that are just still photographs so you can get a look at it. Our next video will be the Leopard tank that fits on it. And then after that, I'm going to do a whole running video on this truck, trailer, tank. And I don't normally do running videos, but I'm going to do it on this rig. That'll be just a separate kind of a bonus video at the very end. So there you go. There's the Die-Cast Masters Lowboy trailer done as a tank hauler to go with my Scania 770S tank transporter truck. I really like these NATO colors. This turned out just super good and was pretty easy to do. So I'll put links in the description to where you can purchase the trailer and to my hobbyconcepts.net website. Thanks again for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithms, and we always like to be up on that. Subscribe to the channel. Got lots of exciting videos coming up, so thank you again for watching. We'll see you next time.